Hey Watchers, this movie features a monumental movie in sports film history, spawning 2 sequels and in general raising the bar for feel-good underdog movies. It truly stands out in the relatively small sports genre of hockey movies. So lace up your skates and grab your stick, cause it's time for the 1992 sports dramedy, The Mighty Ducks. Welcome to the Midnight Watch Podcast, the show where we discuss classic, cult, and modern classic movies.
We're your hosts, Jeremy and Josh Baruto, and we review movies that are at least 10 years old. Fair warning, we're big on spoilers here, straight from the get-go.
We rate these movies in 4 categories. Number 1, the level of impact and success it had when it was released. Number 2, how relevant is it today? Number 3, our own personal enjoyment of this movie. And number 4, is it a midnight watch?
What is a midnight watch? It's a film which completely captures your attention, drawing you in. No matter what time or what part you start watching the movie, you have to finish it. All right, everyone. Welcome to the show. This is Josh. Jeremy couldn't be here today because he's got a newborn in the house, and he was having a heck of a week. He and his wife were very low on sleep, and it was just a crazy week for them. So I am flying solo, but that is all right because I've got my good buddy here on with me today who I've been waiting to get on the show for a while. Please let me introduce Dustin Smith, also known as Bones, who up until recently has been the Nashville Predators emergency goalie. He is a up-and-coming YouTuber with what I would consider the successful Bonesy TV channel, which is kind of all things hockey goalie related. And he's also sponsored by the Tennessee Hockey Company, which is a hockey enthusiast apparel online store. Does that sound about right?
Oh, yeah, dude. What an intro. Like,
hey.
Holy cow. Talk about a welcome to the show.
Yeah, man. Super pumped to have you on.
Yeah, man. I'm excited.
So today we're talking about the Mighty Ducks. And when I talked to you about this, like months ago, I think.
Oh, yeah.
We're just kind of kicking around the idea of like what movie inspired you to get into hockey back when you were a kid. How old were you when you started playing?
Well, I didn't start playing hockey until I moved to Tennessee from San Diego. I think I was like 10, 11 years old. But, living in San Diego, I'd always wanted to play hockey, but there was just no ice rinks or even any roller rinks nearby. So, Mighty Ducks was really kind of that thing that got me into hockey in the first place. And it was kind of this built up tension till I finally moved here to Nashville.
Nice. And then there were just more places to skate when you got here, right?
Yeah, like I had moved to Mount Juliet, and there was an old roller rink down the road from where I lived. And it was this like very rinky dink, like the rink wasn't even the shape of a hockey rink. It was just so oddly shaped. But roller hockey was pretty big there, and that's kind of where I started playing.
Awesome. Yeah, this movie came out in 92, so it was definitely, I was like the perfect age as well when this movie came out. It was definitely geared towards, I think the kids in the movie are supposed to be somewhere in their 12, 13, maybe 14.
Oh yeah, dude. That caught me right in the childhood. Yeah,
so same for me. And then the year after this came out was when The Sandlot came out, which is one of my absolute favorite, to this day, one of my favorite movies. And definitely when I was a kid, I thought was, the coolest movie. And the same as you, I was super into roller hockey, street hockey. I never got to play in a rink or anything, but It was, I remember one Christmas me and my siblings got rollerblades and hockey sticks, and then it was just game on always after that.
Yeah.
It was just
growing up in San Diego, especially in the 90s there, rollerblading became pretty popular, and me and my brother had rollerblades too, so we had the street hockey sets in the backyards. We were cruising around playing street hockey back there.
Nice. Give me a little info on, you were the emergency goalie for the Preds, and then COVID happened, and that kind of changed some things.
Yeah, right. Of course, it changed a lot of things for a lot of people, but the NHL had the emergency goalie rule where they basically had a house emergency option if, whether it's the home team, the away team, if a player got injured during the game, a guy like me would go downstairs, get dressed, and serve as the emergency goalie. And then if the backup ends up getting hurt, then I'm the guy.
You're going in.
Oh, yeah.
Very cool. And give us a little info on Bonesy TV. What you got cracking on that?
Dude, it's been a project I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I've kind of been talking myself into it, talking myself out of it, and then finally I just decided to kind of jump into it, and it's just been this really fun way to, I guess, express my goalie nerdness and, talk about a lot of goalie specific things, mostly just gear stuff, but, I got some coaching stuff going on in there. And then, of course, I've been sprinkling in some fun vintage stuff too. So a lot of fun things going on there.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about some of the vintage stuff they got going on in this Mighty Ducks movie.
Oh yeah, dude. There's a lot of stuff that I want to talk about too, because
Awesome.
I ended up watching it the other day, so it's fresh.
Awesome. And I rewatched it as well. I hadn't sat down and watched it straight through in years, even though I've seen it, quite a few times. And then I also, as soon as that ended, I just watched the second one, Mighty Ducks 2.
I haven't watched the second one again yet.
It was kind of
that
just
one
hand
was
in
also
glove.
a really good movie. Like, as far as the sequel goes, I feel like that one kind of broke the stigma of the second in a series is usually
For
not
real?
as good. I thought the second one was pretty great.
I remember being super, super pumped about that second movie. To the point where also like my first like real crush at that time, like I was dying to like take her to go see that movie, because to me it would have been perfect to see that movie with this girl that I like, and I would have died and been the happiest kid ever. But anyways, all right, well let's jump into all this. Fortunately, I got a lot of talking to do here. And bear with me, take a nap, get some coffee, whatever,
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay, so here's some quick facts to start off with. This was put out by Walt Disney Pictures. It was released on October 2nd, 1992. It had here's a little bit of a controversy, as Jimmy Fallon says. Online, it was showing, my brother also was trying to find this info as well, but some places say the budget was $10 million to make the movie, and then the other number is $14 million.
That's still a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, but at the same time, the big number is the total box office when it was all said and done was $50.8 million. So either way, Disney did pretty well for themselves.
They did.
Made some money. And then the other cool thing I noticed was when it released on a home video after its theater run, it made $54 million in home video rentals when it released to VHS.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was a big deal back then.
Yeah. So they absolutely crushed it with that one. Let's see. This movie inspired 2 sequels, an animated series, and then now they're doing a live action series called The Mighty Ducks Game Changers, which it's funny. I thought it was another movie, but it's a show. So
right.
It's probably better because this is the golden age of television right now. So
and Disney seems to like to do the series instead of the movies now.
Yeah, exactly. That's how they make the money. That's coming out on Disney Plus, and actually it's going to release right around the time when this episode drops.
Perfect.
So how isn't that a coincidence? Okay, it was directed by Stephen Herrick, produced by John Avnet and Jordan Kerner, and starring the great Emilio Estevez, Joss Ackland, Lane Smith, Heidi King, Joshua Jackson, Eldon Henson, Matt Daughtry, Brandon Quinton Adams, Aaron Schwartz, Marguerite Moreau, and Jesse Smollett. And it was written by Stephen Brill. The score was composed by David Newman, who, side note, is the cousin of Randy Newman, the guy that did the music for like Toy Story and Bugs Life.
Just runs in the family, I guess, huh? Because that was a good, the music was great. Like you feel inspirational watching these kids bash the hell out of each other.
Yeah, I know. You're seriously like, let's go out and play. Come on.
Right.
It's super emotional. Gets you absolutely pumped. Let's see the reviews. The critics weren't terribly excited about it. Roger Ebert gave it kind of a lukewarm 2 stars. And even right now, Rotten Tomatoes has it at 23% on the tomato meter, while the audience score is at 65%. But then this is one I like. Google users put this film at 88% for likability.
Well, they probably play hockey, so.
Right.
I feel like if you ask a hockey community, like they're going to say it's 100% the best movie they've ever seen in their life. Maybe not the best movie they've ever seen in their life, but it's definitely up there.
Sure. And as far as like a sports movie goes, I mean, I feel like this is absolutely a groundbreaking sports movie, not just for kids, but I mean, even, for adults. I think it took it to another level. And with that, I'm going to jump into the synopsis. Once again, thank you, Wikipedia, for doing the heavy lifting here. And here we go. Gordon Bombay is an arrogant but successful Minneapolis defense attorney. After his 30th successful case, he celebrates by going out drinking, but is arrested for drunk driving and sentenced to 500 hours of community service by coaching the local District 5 peewee hockey team. Bombay has an unpleasant history with the sport. As a youth in 1973, he was the Hawks' star player, but struggling with the loss of his father, he missed a penalty shot in the championship game, disappointing his hyper-competitive coach, Jack Riley. The Hawks went on to lose in overtime, becoming one of their only championship defeats. Bombay meets the District 5 team and realizes the children have no practice facility, equipment, or ability. Their first game with Bombay at the helm is against the Hawks. Riley is still the Hawks' head coach, and despite a nearly unbroken championship streak, remains bitter about Gordon's missed penalty shot. District 5 is soundly defeated as Riley demands the Hawks run up the score. Bombay berates the team for not listening to him, and the players challenge his authority. For the next match, Bombay tries to teach his team how to dive and draw penalties, which results in another loss, this time to the Jets, angering the team further. Specifically, one player, Charlie Conway, who refuses to take fake an injury like Bombay instructed him to. Bombay visits his old mentor, Hans, who owns a nearby sporting goods store and was in attendance at the game against the Hawks. While there, Bombay recalls that he quit playing hockey after losing his father 4 months before the championship game, and because Riley blamed him for the loss due to the missed penalty shot. Hans encourages him to rekindle his childhood passion for the sport by skating in a frozen pond like he did when he was a kid. Realizing the error of his ways, he apologizes to Charlie and his mother at their home. Bombay approaches his boss, Gerald Ducksworth, to sponsor the team, allowing them to purchase professional-grade equipment as opposed to the makeshift equipment they had, and give Bombay time to teach the players fundamentals. Renamed the Ducks after Ducksworth, the team fights its next game against the Cardinals to a tie. They recruit 3 new players, figure skating siblings Tommy and Tammy Duncan, and slapshot specialist and enforcer Fulton Reed. The potential of Charlie catches Bombay's eye. He takes Charlie under his wing and teaches him some of the tactics he used playing with the Hawks. Bombay learns that due to redistricting, the Hawks star player Adam Banks lives in District 5 and should be playing for the Ducks, and threatens Riley into transferring Banks to the Ducks. After overhearing an out-of-context quote about the team, most of the players walk out, except Charlie and Fulton, who form a strong friendship, resulting in a loss on forfeit to the Flames. The Ducks lose faith in Bombay and revert to their old habits, except Charlie and Fulton. Ducksworth makes a deal with Riley for the Hawks to keep Banks, which Bombay, although initially tempted, refuses on the principles of fair play, which Duckworth berated him about when he started his community service. Left with the choice of letting his team down or being fired from his job, he takes the latter. Bombay manages to regain his players' trust after they win a crucial match against the Huskies in order to qualify for the playoffs, and Banks, who decided to play with the Ducks rather than not play hockey at all, proves to be an asset, though Jesse doesn't trust him. The Ducks march through the playoffs with wins against the Hornets and the Cardinals, reaching the championship game against the Hawks. Riley orders his team to injure Banks to force him out of the game. In spite of this, the Ducks manage to tie late in the final period, and Charlie is tripped by a Hawks player as time expires. In precisely the same situation Bombay faced in his youth, Charlie prepares for a game-deciding penalty shot. In stark contrast to Riley, who told Bombay that if he missed, he was letting everyone down, Bombay tells Charlie to take his best shot and that he will believe in him no matter what. Inspired, Charlie fakes out the goalie with a triple deke Bombay taught him and scores, winning the state championship. The Ducks players and their families race onto the ice in jubilation, where Bombay thanks Hans for his belief in him, and Hans tells Bombay he's proud of him. As Gordon is handed and raises the championship trophy, the team all rally around him and chant Ducks repeatedly in triumphant unison. Some days later, Bombay boards a bus to a minor league tryout secured for him by the NHL's Basil McRae of the Minnesota North Stars, who played peewee hockey with him as a youth. Although daunted at the prospect of going up against younger players, he receives the same words of encouragement and advice from the Ducks he had given them, promising to return next season to defend their title. That was a lot.
That's
So,
a lot. I just
there you go.
relived that entire movie all over
I know.
again.
You know what? I got to say, because I'm usually pretty lazy and we always use Wikipedia for the synopsis on the show here. That was probably the best synopsis. I mean, that was literally the whole movie.
Like, as you're going through, I'm reliving all like the quotes that I forgot that I knew. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of good one-liners in that one. And I like going through and watching it. I watch it with my girlfriend, Olivia, and I'm like, you know, like when you're quoting and like before the line even comes up, you're saying it and like, it's like, oh, wow, I'm doing that way too much right now. I need to pump the brakes on that.
Yeah, especially if you're watching with somebody who maybe hasn't seen it as much or never seen it. I mean, that's super annoying.
Yeah, no, that was the movie right there.
Yeah. So there you go. If you haven't seen the movie, you'll have an idea of what we're talking about. So I got to say, bro, one of the first things I saw as the movie kicks in, it's the flashback to Gordon, you know, all that pressure. He's got to have the game-winning penalty shot.
Super important. And like, by the way, it's still very 80s style. I mean, it's like, you know, the dramatic lighting, the kind of haze in the atmosphere, and just the line the coach says, like, you're not only letting me down, you're letting your team down.
Right.
No pressure.
Just
no pressure.
So much. Oh my gosh. But the thing that I love, though, and you had to have seen this, that goalie, the gear that he was wearing.
Dude, I was eyeballing the hell out of that. Which, by the way, is very accurate.
Oh, yeah, that seemed like it.
Very accurate. I was super impressed with the gear. I mean, even through Goldberg, which, by the way, I'll bring up more about Goldberg later. But
oh, yeah, dude, I can't wait to get all the goalie
just
stuff
that
out of
opening
this.
scene, I was like, I mean, as a kid, like, that's intimidating.
Right. Yeah.
Even though like that goalie didn't really have much protection and like he was probably also scared, but like he looks really intimidating. And which I think they really wanted to do for the movie, but they absolutely nailed that.
Right. But I love that he's got that super old school goalie mask on, you know, like the Jason Voorhees, you know, mask.
The old face mask.
Yeah. And he's got the leather gear on, you know, the leather leg pads and everything. Which, do you have the leather pair like that?
Yeah, I got the old school, the vintage leather leg pads and the leather gloves and everything.
Oh man, that's good stuff. Let's see, what was something else that? I did think it was kind of interesting. So the whole Gordon gets a DUI, and it totally just made me immediately think of Charlie Sheen.
Yeah,
Emilio's
being like
real life
it,
brother.
Right. Yeah. Watching it as an adult though is like a little different because like he's like, I forgot the line. He said he slurs when the officer's talking to him, and it's like, damn, you got a DUI, bro. That sucks.
Right.
As a kid, you're just like, oh, I don't know, he got pulled over, and I guess he's in trouble.
Right. Like he was drinking. I don't really get it. But okay. I did love that Z28 Camaro he was driving. That was
of course.
Definitely pretty sick.
Just blasting some music.
And then like moving on, and then it kind of jumps ahead to where the kids are playing that prank where they find that purse and then they're following that dog around. Or no, they feed the dog. They get the dog to, you know, take a dump, and then they shovel that into the purse.
Yeah.
And then they put the dollar there. And I just remember, like, as a kid, I just remember thinking, like, why would you waste $1? Like,
yeah, right.
That's a whole dollar.
Just everything you would do for a prank. But the part where the guy ends up slipping, you know, hits his nuts on the plank or whatever, and his voice goes to that high pitched thing, like such a classic gag.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's nut shots, man. They're funny as a kid. They're funny as an adult. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And I also love Averman, like the nerdy kid with the glasses. He had that cool like early 90s Sharks sweatshirt on.
Yeah.
Which, say what you will, whatever team you pull for, the Sharks had probably the coolest looking gear in the early 90s, I would say.
Yeah, the teal was definitely like a fresh new look. They still have like the all black jerseys they have are sick.
Yes, I definitely agree. Yeah, I always, because I grew up in Northern California, the North Bay. Sharks were, I guess, South Bay technically, but anyways, that was the team in Northern California. So I knew who they were. I've always liked hockey, but I've actually still never been to a game. I've watched, plenty of games on TV and whatnot.
Dude, we got to get you to a game.
I know, man. I got to go. Apparently, it was super easy to go to a Preds game back when they first started, and they sucked. It was like they were giving away tickets.
Yeah, I remember, I would get phone calls from, I had some friends that worked, like, the ice crew. They go out and shovel out the snow off the ice during TV timeouts, and I would get phone calls from them like maybe an hour before the games, and they'd say like, "Hey, we got 7 tickets. Do you want them?" I'm like, "What? I don't even have 7 friends." Like, whatever.
Oh, that's awesome. I know Jeremy wanted to say, and I've heard this from a lot of people. He sent me a few notes, but the thing, scrolling through. Okay. So yeah, he and his wife went to a Drillers hockey game, which I think is it's minor league. I don't know what level they are. But in Tulsa, and like absolutely loved it. Said it was so much fun, dying to go again. And I've heard that from a lot of people that aren't even sports fans, but they go out of all the different live sports to go to, they'll go to a hockey game and like fall in love because the action is so fast paced. It's just it's loud. Really, usually the seating, I think, kind of draws you in.
Yeah, I feel like the game translates better live than it does on TV. I feel like football is kind of a better sport to watch on TV, whereas hockey is definitely the opposite. Like it's kind of hard to really appreciate the game from TV, but you go to the game, you get to see everything, and it really does just kind of become a totally different sport.
I have heard that so much, and I am dying to go to a game because I think a little bit just from playing street hockey so much as a kid. It just, helped you appreciate what you're watching, and then of course the Mighty Ducks. Back to the movie. I thought this was hilarious, but Fulton, the big dude who's got like the killer slap shot.
Oh yeah.
The bad boy kind of guy. Well, he ends up being the lawyer, Froggy Nelson on Daredevil, the show on Netflix.
No way.
That's him.
No way.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, he becomes a lawyer.
Right, and the nerd, like the total kind of pushover, kind of fluffy,
the opposite
nerd.
Like the funny thing throughout the entire movie is that these are peewee kids, and like they show the scenes of them playing the games and stuff like that, and it's just them smashing the hell out of each other. Like they're just hitting each other left and right, and I'm like, why didn't you put the big kid and just have him run everybody over? And it's like game over. You know what I mean?
Right. Even though he couldn't skate, you'd think he would just like plow through everyone.
Right.
Which, speaking of that, I just felt like as I'm watching the movie, I feel like there were a ton of illegal hits going on. Just like so many rough hits and like hitting somebody from the back and taking them down.
Yeah. There were some that I was like kind of trying to see like, what kind of penalties they have and stuff like that. And for the most part, a lot of them were actually like kind of clean, but some were definitely like, dude, what? Like what?
Right.
You can't do that.
So I remember I was always impressed. Like I thought, man, these kids seem to skate pretty well. And I thought maybe a lot of them had, previous experience. It turns out like none of them, I guess, really did. And so they set up like a camp for them before filming the movie. And it was like a total boot camp for like a month. But whatever coaches they had for that were, I think, pretty dang good.
I mean, they definitely sold the parts in the beginning when they were like, oh, we're terrible. We don't know how to play. Right. But they definitely like, as the movie progresses, so does their skill. I mean, obviously that's kind of, the whole premise of the movie where they get decent coaching. But hold on, I do want to say, so at the beginning of the movie, Goldberg, playing goalie, he doesn't want to stop a puck. And I do not blame him because this guy has magazines stripped to his legs. I'm like, what are you doing, kid? He has literally no pads on, like anything. So no wonder he's like, yeah, just go. Please score.
Right. Yeah, I would, it cannot feel good to take a puck, a direct hit.
No, it sucks. like wearing all this vintage gear that I just kind of got into the whole vintage thing recently, and like the level of appreciation for the position has just like gone up exponentially because I mean that old school stuff really doesn't offer too much protection.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. So that definitely speaks to the caliber of goalies from the past. Just tough as nails to take a beating like that and just sit there and, good Lord. I think this movie's kind of cool too. Joshua Jackson, who plays Charlie, I didn't really realize this till a lot later, but he goes on and plays a main character on Dawson's Creek, the character Pacey. Yeah. And then, do you remember that show Fringe it was on Fox back in like the early 2000s?
I never actually watched it.
But you know what I'm talking about though?
Yeah.
So it's a sci-fi show, and he's like the lead guy in that one as well.
Charlie is.
Yeah.
Look at you, Charlie. All right.
I know. Went on to do some good work. And then there's only 2 black kids on the team, and the one kid who's like technically their best player on the team, Jesse, he ends up going and being in The Sandlot, which came out the next year.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He's the pitcher.
Yep.
Which was awesome. And then, of course, a little side note here, going into the second movie when D2 came out and they bring in, the Hispanic kid who's the Latino kid who's like the super fast kid.
Who also can't stop for some reason.
Right. Which is right. That was just bizarre to be that good at skating.
Yeah.
And have enough talent and then you can't stop. Anyways, and he's Benny, like the best kid on the Sandlot baseball team in that movie. So
their stock was high.
Oh, dude. Absolutely. I mean, as far as like just crushing it with these sports movies and then just these great characters. But anyways, the kid that plays Jesse, his younger brother, who's in this first movie, Jesse Smollett, he ended up being on that show Empire. You remember that one about the rap mogul family?
No.
That was on Fox.
No.
Not familiar with that one?
No.
Okay. It was kind of a big show. Yes.
Kind of a big deal. You probably should have watched it, but you didn't, so whatever.
It's all right, it's cool. A little homework for you when you're done here.
Yeah, right.
But he ends up being one of the main characters on that show. And then also I found out that kid grew up in Santa Rosa, which is the town that I grew up in as a kid.
Really?
Which, I mean, dude, it was super white out there. It was just white people and brown people. So the fact that, I knew one black kid growing up. There was just no black people there.
And it wasn't him. It wasn't the
no, it wasn't him.
The little brother.
Well, actually, yeah. I think the kid I knew, his name was Avery. So yeah, not him.
That close.
Anyways, little side note there. And then I didn't realize this, but the Ducks hockey team, the NHL team, started out as the Mighty Ducks, and Disney actually owned the team, and that's why they owned the team for the first. I'd say I got the date here. They were named after the movie because it was owned by Disney. Let's see, they owned him from. Actually, I didn't put that part down. Anyways, whenever they first were founded until the 2005-06 season, and that's when they sold the team, and then they dropped the Mighty part, and they just became the Ducks. But what's his face?
I remember when they came out, like announced the team and everything like that. I was pumped because of the movies, obviously, and I was like, man, like this is. I had like posters and stuff.
Right. I mean, talk about a cool factor for a team that. It's almost like they didn't even have to prove themselves. They were automatically like a celebrity level team.
Yeah, right.
But I guess Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney at the time, I guess his kids played hockey. And that's kind of what inspired them doing the movie in the first place. And then I think also he was just into hockey at that point. So he bought a team, CEOs.
Not a big deal.
Not a big deal. Let's just go buy a team. Let's see. Oh, and then my brother found this little tidbit. So Adam Banks in the movie, the good player from the Hawks who gets absorbed into the Ducks because of the rezoning situation. So they keep calling him a cake eater. So I guess this term is actually well known throughout Minnesota, which is where the story takes place, and it refers to people who live in the city of Edina, a suburb of Minneapolis. And a cake eater is saying this is a person who is so rich they can have their cake and eat it too.
Yep. I actually had to look that up too because I remember I remember like hearing it growing up, like, yeah, I don't know what that means, but whatever.
Right. I know it's a dig. I know it's mean to that person.
But yeah, looking it up, I was like, all right, that makes sense.
That's crazy. It was like an actually Minnesota specific, slur, not a slur, but something disrespectful to say.
Yeah, right.
And then also my brother found out that the original premise of the Mighty Ducks was like a really darker version of the story with very little comedy. It was about an ex-NHL player who turned into an alcoholic who seeks revenge on his old coach by coaching opposite him. So the main idea stayed when Disney bought the rights to the movie, but then they changed some of the elements, such as Bombay. He's now a lawyer. He's never played in the NHL, but he has to do the whole community service for a DUI, including much more emphasis on comedy and downplaying most of the adult themes. So that definitely changes the vibe of the movie drastically.
That would actually be kind of cool to have like a darker tone version of the Mighty Ducks.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised. Everybody loves doing reboots this year.
Yeah, true.
Or not this year, but this time period, in film history. So Wouldn't surprise me if down the road they're like, let's just reboot it and it's going to be this dark version.
Yeah. We'll bring in Adam Banks. He still loves hockey, but he's burned by it or something like that. By the way, Adam Banks has one of my favorite lines from the whole movie when he's standing in the locker room in front of his new team and he's like, whatever, I'm just here to play hockey. Like, he just loves hockey so much that he's like willing to just like ditch his old team full of his friends and like really try to make it in this new room, even though everyone in there hated his guts.
Yeah. Yeah. That's passion, man. I mean, I know, I mean, I never felt that way about sports per se as a kid, but I know when I started playing music, like in high school, I mean, I definitely felt that kind of passion for something where it was like, this is all that matters in life.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, literally ditch your friends and, you know, for the pursuit of this one thing that you love. So yeah, that's pretty awesome that they kept that part in there, as you know, seeing that in him. I had a question. The goalie warm up in that first game. Do you remember, you know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
So the goalie warm up where, and if I remember correctly, I think he still had the old gear on, like the magazines as shin guards, you know, strapped to his knees. And
oh, you're talking about in the practice when they strapped him to the net?
Yeah. Like how,
So,
I mean, that's actually another question I had, but like, is that a thing to try to break a goalie of like?
Like, no, not at all.
Okay.
Like, no, you don't
That seems like
strap your
child
kid
abuse.
to a net and just have everyone chuck pucks at him. But I mean, it really did deliver the message to the goalie that, you know, you have gear on now and you're protected so they don't hurt, which I think is a big thing for any goalie to like go through and realize. Like, oh, you're well protected and you need to like your job is to get in front of the puck and like basically put yourself in harm's way. But, you know, if you don't have that fear of getting hurt, you're obviously going to play a little better.
True. I mean, would you say there's also a degree of, well, I mean, obviously the good ones have to have some natural talent. You kind of have to be a little bit fearless, I'd imagine.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Not be afraid to throw yourself in front of a speeding projectile.
Yeah, there's some times where I kind of have to remind myself, like, yo, like, don't be scared, like, get in there, like, get your face in front of this thing. Like, every once in a while you have to kind of remind yourself a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'd imagine even now you see somebody bearing down on you and just putting it all behind that puck. That's got to be a little daunting. But then also I'd assume sometimes you're so pumped up from adrenaline, you're just coming, you know, just like, give it to me.
Oh, right. Dude, I actually put my vintage gear on a couple weeks ago, and I thought it was going to be just like a casual whatever. Ended up being like, there was one guy, Cody Hodgson, who used to play for the Preds. A couple other guys that played, you know, college and stuff like that. I've never been scared of a puck, but like I was terrified. Because like I took a couple to like the hands, my hands were bruised up. I could take a couple like to the chest. I'm like, oh my God, no, not again. Don't come back.
Oh, wow. And you were wearing the old gear, the vintage gear for that?
Yeah.
Was your new gear any better as far as like, I might assume the padding and whatnot would be a little better for taking that?
Dude, I wouldn't have felt a thing. I would have been cruising just fine. But yeah, the old stuff, like I said, whole new level of respect for guys that wore that.
Craziness. All right, here's a couple other little trivia tidbits. So Charlie Sheen was actually Emilio Estevez's real life brother. Was actually one of the first people offered the role of playing Gordon Bombay.
No way.
He turned it down. And then another actor considered for the role was Bill Murray. Which
yes, that would have been hilarious.
It really would have. It would have changed the dynamic a lot, but I don't think I'd been mad at that.
No. Although, you know, Emilio Estevez was pretty solid.
Oh, absolutely. You're right. I mean, it's kind of hard to imagine anyone else doing it now. I mean, he was a great, well-known actor at the time, too. I mean, he definitely wasn't I would say a last resort kind of a pick for the role.
Right.
He definitely had some other great movies, you know, under his belt by that time. And then a few other big names they were looking at trying to get was Tom Cruise, Tom Hanks even, which would have been kind of interesting at that, because that's before Forrest Gump. He was still kind of, you know, younger.
I'm just trying to picture who would quack at Mr. Ducksworth better.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, and
like,
the
is
last
Tom
choice
Hanks
was
going to quack just as well?
I don't know, man. But the last choice they had on the list was Michael J. Fox was also in the running.
I could see Michael J. Fox doing a pretty good quack.
I think so, because we know. I mean, just from seeing him in Back to the Future, you know, he could be a little sassy there. You know,
he's got some spice.
He's got some spice. He could throw it back in your face. So, anyways, I thought that was kind of fun. They some of the other people they had picked for the role there. What's something else I had? Oh, there's another scene in the movie where they're practicing soft hands. And
Soft hand. What do they say? Concentration. I forget what the line is. Like concentration over strength or something like that.
Right, and they're passing raw eggs, on the ice. Is that an actual drill? Have you ever seen people really do that, or was that just kind of made up for the movie?
No, absolutely no. Nobody's taking eggs on the ice. But again, similar to tying Goldberg to the net, it does deliver the message of soft hands, which is funny because we had that ice storm recently. Ended up on the backyard with my girlfriend, and I'm literally teaching her the same lesson, like, oh, you got to cradle it, like soft hands.
Nice.
But yeah,
that
we didn't
was
use
a cool
any eggs,
video.
so.
FYI, and we'll plug this at the end of the episode for where people can reach you on the gram and whatnot. But you posted a really cool video of your little tiny patio slab that iced over, and you're out there on your gear skating on it. That was awesome.
I was so excited about that. Like just building up ice in my backyard, even if it's just a tiny concrete pad. But yeah, that was a good time. I'm glad we got to do that.
Yeah, that's a kind of a once in a lifetime. I mean, we get some snow out here in the Nashville area, but not like not like other places where ponds freeze over every winter and then kids are out there skating all the time.
Yeah, right.
Let's see. I asked you about being tied to a net. Oh yeah, this is something I remember. I think we were talking about this at work the other day. But one of the characters, the kid they call Carp, the actor Andy Schwartz. So he takes a puck to the head and gets knocked out.
Yeah.
And they're just joking and laughing, slapping him in the face like, snap out of it, let's go. And just in today's world, the world that we live in now, concussions are like the thing everyone's terrified of. The injury to get in sports, across the board, whether it's basketball, football, obviously, but hockey, very violent. Baseball, it's everywhere. Like I don't think you get away with that joke these days.
No, and I thought the same thing, and I was like, oh man, like this kid was like cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs the whole time too. He was like nowhere to be found. But like the crazy thing is, going back to my vintage stuff, it's always about me though, right? But I have the same helmet. You on the show. Like I have the same exact helmet. So like to see a big dent in it like that too, I'm like, oh man, like I don't know, like.
Oh my gosh.
Like, yeah, I mean, they're carting him off. How many numbers? What was it? How many fingers am I holding up? He's like, he wouldn't be able to tell you anyways. Hilarious.
Not the smartest kid, but yeah, pick on the kid with the concussion.
Yeah, right.
And then I love how, that team fight that they have totally ends up bonding them and, getting them all pumped up and.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah, there's got to be that one big bonding moment.
Right. Classic. I guess this movie was loosely based off of the Bad News Bears. The original one with, I think it was Walter Matthau was in it in the 70s. So it was kind of a version of that, except I don't think, if I remember correctly, and I'm also more remembering the Billy Bob Thornton one that they did in like either the late 90s or early 2000s, the reboot of that. But it's definitely not about as much of a underdogs triumphing, sports movie. It's there's a lot more just straight comedy going on, and it's more about, not that this movie isn't about the coach also redeeming himself, but the other ones is just kind of straight funny. So, and this is a lot more like as a kid, you're just pumped and you want to go play hockey.
Right. Yeah. No kids with cool dirt bikes either. So there's that.
Right. Oh, and then here's another thing. So when the kids, when Gordon ends up taking them kind of as a reward for doing well and just, trying to, again, keep the team growing and bonding together, he takes them to the Stars Arena and they all get to skate. And that's when they meet the players, have that whole experience. So my thought was, when you've skated at Bridgestone Arena, do you totally get that little kid kind of feel sometimes like,
oh, dude,
oh my gosh.
like practicing with the Preds at Bridgestone is always like a treat, just being able to skate on that ice. So, sometimes we'll have, men's league games out there too. But yeah, it's that same little kid feeling of like, wow, this is so cool. Yeah.
Big. This is real deal. This is, even for like someone like myself, where I've only seen these games on TV. So to go there, it's like going to church or something. It's almost a religious experience.
Yeah, it's crazy. But the funny part is when they're getting ready to step out there for something like that, the team stepping off the ice and they're talking to Gordon Bombay and they're like, yeah, this guy was a legend in Pee-wees. It's like, you're... But he reacted the way I would have too. He's like, what, you remember me? It's like, yeah, this guy was a legend back in Pee-wees. Like, oh, all right, tight. And that's when he gives him the invite. He's like, if you ever want a shot at the minors, let me know. I'll get you a tryout.
Right.
He's like,
right.
Okay, sure. Since I don't have a job anymore, I guess I'll do that.
Might as well. Got nothing else going on.
Right. Which by the way, I do want to bring up the fact that he did lose his job to continue to coach Pee-wee kids and then, went to try the whole minor thing.
Right. Which, yeah. I mean, and that's a huge risk. That's obviously a lot of passion, believing in what you're doing. But at the same time, it wouldn't be the first time you saw someone with a, massively successful career throw it away, or not necessarily throw it away, but just, it's not important to them. Yeah,
true. But I don't know, beginning of the movie, that seemed like it was very important to him. So for him to that's a huge, drastic change in character, which, adds to the magic of the movie.
Of course, the movie magic. But, and I got to say, and this is also the movie magic too. So his boss, is getting him to go do this. He gets the DUI and the boss is like, look, you're not lawyering anymore. You don't got any more cases. You're going to go do community service. You need to learn what it's, learn your lesson. And it's not all about you and this and that and yada, yada, yada. Just really rides him hard. And then the next thing you know, later in the movie, his boss is like, hey, we're going to do this dirty, underhanded thing so we can win. It's just like, what the heck?
Yeah, right. What about this lesson you were making me learn?
Right.
Like, what the hell, dude?
Now, I guess if you look at that and like your mentor and the guy that's like giving you all this thing, you find out he's that dirty, maybe that can inspire you to be like, it's not worth it.
Yeah, true.
Maybe there's a lesson there. I don't know.
Yeah, you may have paid for this jersey, but you didn't earn it.
Right. At which point, like the boss in real life would have been like, yeah, and I'm taking them all back. Have fun playing on nothing.
I'm going to need those.
Okay, here's another real life hockey question versus the movie magic. The flying V. That's like the big play in the game. They go into the duck flying V formation and they're going up and no one could stop them.
Right.
Is that for real?
No. No. Like you can so first of all, I was like, okay, are they going to come in off sides? Like, is this even like a legal play technically? And they did come in on sides. So I was like, okay, they at least got that part right. But yeah, I mean, like, the passing between their legs and everything like that, like, not only is that tough, but also like it's super easy for someone to just like come in and break that up real quick. Like it does not take much to break that up.
I was thinking about that too. And I remember like as a kid, of course, you're just so wrapped up and you're like, oh, this is amazing. They're going to do this crazy play and win. But as an adult watching, I'm just seeing that like, man, this is really slow paced hockey.
Oh,
like,
yeah. That's movie magic, like you said.
I know. They're taking their time moving up the ice, slowly passing the puck. And then in the second movie, when they're playing Iceland, which is like they're like the number one ranked team in the world, and they're playing, and Iceland does exactly what you're talking about. They just crash it.
Oh, yeah.
They just smash in there, grab the puck, and they're gone.
Yeah, so, well, and also, like, there is no defense with that. I mean, you come in and you break it up, and then it's like everyone is bunched up in that one area. So it's just, really not quite as effective, I would think. Apparently it works in Pee-wee, so.
Hey, you know what? That was the genius of Gordon Bombay. He was a legend in Pee-wee. There you have it. So, okay, here's another question for you. So, in the movie, end of the movie, this is the big thing. Charlie's going out there. He's got to make the game-winning shot. No pressure, right? Even though Gordon's like, "Hey, man, you're good either way." And so he's out there. Now, did you? Before I say all that, did you play a lot of goalie as a kid, or was that something you kind of did later?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much after my first year of playing hockey, I started out as a player just like everybody else, and then not even a year after that, I went right to playing goalie. So yeah, most of the time was just playing goalie.
Okay. So in this scenario as a kid, because I know every kid does this, either when you're by yourself or whatever, you're replaying either real famous, famous real life sports moments in history, whether it's hitting the home run or, throwing the winning touchdown or like this, scoring the winning goal. As a kid, as little Dustin, Are you Charlie going in there to score, or are you that goalie who's stopping the game winning, sending it to overtime?
So I obviously couldn't shoot on myself.
Right.
So, and like just being a weirdo kid standing in front of a net and just flop around in his driveway is a little strange, but it was kind of a little bit of both, where like, I was coming in making moves and like scoring the game winner, but at the same time I was also like the player coming in making moves and then like shooting, and also it's like, oh, big save. Just pretending that I was shooting on myself.
Nice. All right, I got a couple other little things here, and then we'll kind of head to wrapping it up. So I didn't realize this, because a lot of times when they film movies, they're not necessarily filming in the time of year that the movie takes place in. Is it really that cold where they're filming it? Is it really that hot where they're filming it? Because it's just more of what's more conducive for filming or for making the movie. They were filming this in Minnesota in the wintertime with like minus 50-degree wind chill. Oof. It's cold. It's freaking cold out there. Oof. And apparently when Bombay is kissing Charlie's mom, like at the end of the movie their lips actually froze together. Oh, no way. Oh, my God. And like the makeup lady had to go over there like warm water and like pour it on their lips to like break the...
You're talking about the NC where he's like getting on the bus and like...
Yes.
Yeah, that was like the big kiss. All the kids were like, ooh.
Right. And they literally like almost ripped their lips apart. Let's see. Oh, and then I always love this. Like not that I hate a good sequel, but it seems like these days, every show that comes out, every movie that comes out, they always build like a trapdoor into the ending for a sequel.
Of course.
If they don't blatantly leave it open for a sequel. And this movie, there was no intention of there being a sequel. They literally was like, this is just how it's going to end.
He's just going to go play in the minors, and
he's just going to play in the minors, and he's going to come back for peewee hockey to coach next year. And that's
right.
It. And then it blew up, and basically huge success, and they cranked out 2 more movies.
You're right, and then they're going to the Olympics, and
right.
The rest is history.
The rest is history. So, you have any final thoughts before we get into our little rating system here?
Not really. I think I just would like to say how creepy Charlie was the entire time, trying to like pimp his mom out. Like, how many times is he like, like, what do you think, coach? Just
right.
Just, why don't you go on and get in there?
That is kind of gross.
Weirdo kid.
Weirdo kid. Yeah.
His heart was in the right place, though. His heart was in the right place.
True. Right. I guess that's kids for you. So what we do here on the show, we rate these movies in 4 categories. The first one being the level of impact, success it had when it released. The second category, how relevant is it today? And we've been kind of going back and forth recently on some of the recent shows. Relevant is a little tricky of a word. Is this pop culture? Is this film history we're talking about, or film culture?
Right.
In this particular instance, this is a sports film. How is this relevant in that regard? Personal enjoyment is the third category. And then the fourth one is kind of our made-up category. Is this a midnight watch? Where if this movie comes on at night, are you going to sit up and finish it? Or,
you're just going to shut her down.
Or you're going to shut her down. And it doesn't mean you don't like the movie, but just where does that fall in there for you?
All right.
And then we use a letter grade in each category. So I'll go ahead and start it off. As far as the level of impact and success it had when it was released, I have to give it an A. When you look at the money it made off the budget, and which was pretty good. I mean, if you're going off of that $10 million budget to go to 50, I mean, if it makes 5 times its amount of money, or even at 14, that's pretty dang good.
That sounds successful.
Yes. And then the fact that when it released on VHS, it made even a little more than the total box office. I mean, that's got to be huge.
Yeah.
And I just remember as a kid, this was like the movie. I remember being at my friend's house for a sleepover. First time I watched it, and it was just, amazing. Like, how do you go to sleep after watching a movie like this?
Dude, no, not a chance. Not a chance. And just for that reason alone, like, I would also give it an A, because I think what it did for the sport of hockey moving forward from that moment was so huge. I mean, obviously it had a huge lasting impact on me as well. So, right. I'll give it an A in that one.
Awesome. And that leads us into number 2, how relevant is it today? Like you said, the fact that it spawned a franchise, an actual NHL franchise from this movie, and of course the sequels and other film stuff. But this franchise that went on and in the last, few years has been a kind of a powerhouse team.
Right, yeah. They actually just released a jersey this year. Every team has like the reverse retro, and it's kind of a callback to like, their roots, I guess. And the Mighty Ducks, well, the Ducks have, it's like the animated duck logo that they had for a little bit.
Yeah.
So like definitely going back to their Mighty Ducks roots.
Very cool. So yeah, I mean, I am a sports fan. Hockey's not my favorite sport, but I do like it a lot. And I feel like it's still kind of an A when it comes to the relevance as a sports film and in kind of sports history and the impact it has today. I feel like it's somewhere around an A personally. How about you?
A, absolutely A.
Easy answer there. Okay, moving on to enjoyment. I give it a solid B. Like I said earlier, Sandlot that came out a year later, that's an A for me. Like that was my movie, but this one's a B.
I'm gonna say it's an A, of course, but
awesome.
This is also one of those movies
that makes
like,
sense.
Yeah, I forgot how much I loved it, as a kid. So watching it as an adult, I was like, yo, yes, this is awesome.
Totally brought you back. Okay, so here I forgot. I got to bring Jeremy in on this. His ratings that he texted me before we started. So this is always fun. Now last year we did Hook, the Robin Williams movie, and we had our buddy Jake on the show, and I had my girls on the show, and we all loved that movie. Like all four of us were just nothing but good things. Then my brother, he couldn't be on that show that time. And so he ends up sending some notes in. He hated it. Like he didn't like it at all.
The one show we should have been on to contradict everything you guys were saying. Oh,
yeah. I know. It was awesome. So anyways, I had not looked at Jeremy's ratings for this one. I'm looking at it now. So for relevance, when it came out, he said it was definitely a hit. So, an A. And then today he actually gives it a C. He says because the new show is coming out.
Yeah, that does kind of drop the relevance down a little bit, I guess.
There's that. And then for personal enjoyment, he gives it a C+ for nostalgia and lighthearted moments. So I think
that's fair.
A, B, and C right there.
Yeah.
And okay, now I'm going to jump back to my pick for the Midnight Watch. So I'm not going to give a definitive answer on this because this happens to me in a lot of movies. Yes, there are some movies that are a definite Midnight Watch because I will watch it at any point in the movie. I can't say that this is not a midnight watch because there's definitely certain scenes that are going to come on. And, if it's the end of the movie, or if that final game against the Hawks, I definitely want to watch that.
Right.
If it's that whole scene, like where they're recruiting Fulton to be the slap shot specialist, I got to watch that. So I don't know, man. I got to give it a half of a midnight watch because depending on the scene, I'm watching the scene and then I'll probably shut it off and go to bed.
Right. Yeah. If it catches me in the right spot, I'm definitely watching the whole thing. But if it's from the very beginning to the end of the movie and I'm going to say, no, it's not a midnight watch. I'm going to watch the opening scene where Charlie misses a shot or Bombay misses a shot. And then I'm going to go to bed saying, quarter of an inch, Charlie, quarter of an inch. And then I'm going to sleep.
Awesome. So there you have it, folks. We all definitely enjoyed this movie and not quite a midnight watch, but still, if you've not seen this movie, please go watch it. Okay, man. This is the big moment. I need you to plug yourself. Let's get
the big moment.
The big moment.
The big plug.
Where can the people find you on social media?
So Instagram, it's dembones_dembones. Just a bunch of goalie pictures and a lot of goalie specific things, just like a lot of things I do. And then of course, like you said, YouTube, it's Bonesy TV. And I actually got a video coming out tomorrow, which Sweet. I guess when this comes out won't be tomorrow, but
I got
a bunch of fun stuff coming down for Bonesy TV. That's been kind of a fun project for me.
Awesome. And then I did notice with Tennessee Hockey Company, you just started repping their Tenders sub, I want to say label, but sub brand.
Yeah.
That's probably the word.
Yeah. So they just released Tenders trademark, which is kind of more specific with goalies. And, it's right down my alley. So good stuff.
Cool. So go check it out. Yeah. All that great stuff, man. It is awesome to have you on. Loved talking about this with you. It was really hard seeing you earlier. And not talking about this. Save it for the podcast.
Save it. Don't talk about it. Yeah, no, I'm glad to finally get on here. I know we've been talking about it for a while, but hopefully we can do it again sometime.
Absolutely, man. This was a total blast. So All right, there you have it, folks. This has been Josh and Dustin Bones Smith. So cool, man. We'll catch you later.
Yeah, take it easy, guys.
Okay, everyone, you have a fantastic week. And as always, keep up the watch.